Welcome to Reef and Pond Wise, where we talk all about reef and pond related stuff. So if you're new to the channel and you love reef keeping and pond keeping like I do, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss anything. In this video, we're going to kick it off with sticking to the pond basics. So koi pond basics is pretty straightforward, guys. All you really need to have a healthy pond is the basics. And I always refer to the basics as part of being the ABCs of pond keeping. A standing for attitude. It's having a correct attitude to embrace the hobby. It doesn't have to be a good attitude, it has to be the right attitude. B is for basics, which we'll talk about today. And C is for commitment. And so when you think about basics of a koi pond, there's really only three things that you need to be concerned with, and that is filtration, aeration, and of course water quality. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the basic filtration mechanisms that you want to think about when you're building your pond. And those are basically just mechanical and biological filtration. And if you have those in place, you're going to have good water quality, but you have to make sure that your filtration is capable of handling and supporting the size of your pond. Now, I'm a strong proponent of keeping two things in mind when you're thinking about filtration in your pond. One is breaking down the solids or the organic waste in the pond, and that is usually removed by the mechanical filtration. And the second thing is you want to make sure that you've got a good ecosystem in place. So by having biological filtration, you're going to go ahead and prevent any disasters from happening in your pond and have the right amount of beneficial bacteria growth and all of the ecosystem support mechanisms that you would need in order to have a successful pond. So if you keep it basic and you think about what really drives an ecosystem in the pond, those are the things. And if you look here, I'm just going to point out one other really important factor in the basics of pond keeping, and that is making sure that you have the right amount of water flow and the right amount of turnover in your pond. So if you've got a 100-gallon pond, you're going to want to have your pump at least 100 gallons per hour so that you're turning over your pond water every hour, at least once an hour. So the main thing when you're building a pond, guys, is think about where you're going to put your filter, how it's going to support the ecosystem, and just keep it basic. There's one thing that I found out in my long tenure as a koi pond keeper, and that is don't put rocks in your pond. I've had rocks in my pond when I started, and I started with a small pond that is literally what you're seeing in the picture right there. And then this was an addition, and then we added over there, and then we added over here. I often look back and think to myself, God, I had rocks in the pond originally, and it was never clear. It was always dirty. Even when you cleaned it, it would take weeks for it to clean out. I have been a strong proponent of not using chemicals in my pond, have not used chemicals in my pond for probably 13, 14 years now. So it's just sticking with the basics. So I'll do a future video on the ABCs, the full ABCs of pond keeping. But if you think about the basics, those are really the things you want to think about when you're designing your pond and you're supporting your fish. And even if you don't have fish, you want a nice clean pond. So try to remember that the main things there is mechanical and biological filtration, water movement, and of course turnover from your pond pumps. So guys, if you found this interesting or educational at all, give it a thumbs up. And I'm going to do some future videos as we come to the height of the season here in Michigan. I'm going to start closing down my pond here in about 60 days in November. So we've got a complete process that we will do the future videos on on how to get your pond prepared for the winter time. So keep it basic, guys. And don't forget, anyone can build a pond. And the reason I say that is because I built this pond myself. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And until next time, it takes someone special to keep a pond, and that someone special is you.